Good day and greetings. This is Coach Veronica Marie, and I am here to discuss my recent ebook entitled Self Intimacy: A Beginner's Guide to Self Discovery. You can purchase the book on my website at veronicamarie.com. And if you have already purchased the book and you want to join this book study, it's in my private group. It's on an app outside of social media. Then send me an email at veronicamarie@mail.com. Today, I want to talk about conflict resolution because lately now I see more than ever how people are ineffective at resolving even the smallest conflict in their own lives. People are fussing about something as small as a pen breaking or something as large as, getting fired or anything in between. And I don't hear a lot of people able to resolve conflict at its root. I'm talking about listen to people's conversations in the store, the person who is loud on the phone in Starbucks, the people around me. And I think to myself, how do they resolve anything? But more importantly, I notice how they create endless suffering and contraction within themselves, and they don't really have a way not to do it. In fact, they are unconscious that they are doing it. And if someone told them that they were doing it, they would say, no, I'm not. you know. So if I could start anywhere, I would say that resolving conflict with others begins with knowing how to resolve your own inner conflict and going beyond the surface of the problem. A lot of people don't. They just stay on the problem, fuss about the problem, come up with some conclusion that helps them suppress the problem. And we know the conflict is not resolved because the same situation continues to happen and they continue to have the same responses. And even when the responses are getting better, they say, oh, well, at least I didn't, react like I used to. Yeah, but it's still a problem. So it's not resolved. And I've come to a space in my life where my mental health is of the utmost importance, especially now. It's always been important on a deep level, but especially now. And most people would say, "Oh yes, my mental health is very important." Meanwhile, they're holding grudges and contracting about what someone else is doing with their lives, what they're wearing, how they're looking, things of that nature. I would say your mental health is not that important to you. And the biggest part about it is that they are unconscious. They think they believe something that they really don't, and they can't see it, right? So I'm here to help you look within yourself to go beyond the surface of conflicts and actually get at what is really mattering, right? I offer one-on-one coaching. You can sign up on my website at veronicamarie.com if you want to go a little farther, but also I lead you through a process in my book. If a thing happens, right? And if you stay on the level of the problem, you keep talking about the problem, fussing about the problem, devising conclusions and imaginings about the problem, and you are unable to release it. And even if you say, I'm just letting it go, you don't. You at best suppress it, put it out of your brain. If you stay on the level of the problem, you stay in a blame mode. You stay looking outside of yourself and saying the issue is outside. If you stay on the level of the problem, it is said that doing so is like losing your keys in your house, but walking down the block looking for the keys. You know you got in your house, so your keys are in your house, yet you are outside looking for the keys. You see the problem in this, right? Most people are doing this in their everyday life. A thing happens and you begin to feel some kind of way about it. You feel however you feel about it because you have thoughts about it. And those thoughts are part of your programming, your character. Whenever somebody does that particular thing or a thing like that happens, you have the same thoughts. You have thoughts about what should be happening and what should not be happening, and you apply it to the world outside of you. But what you think should be happening is for you to govern yourself. It's for you to make decisions in your own life. But right away, you begin to impose, apply, and project what should be happening onto the outside world. And that's the first problem. If you were to apply what should be happening to your life, then you would make sure you do the thing or don't do the thing. Or you would position yourself in a role to help the thing be less likely to happen for others. But what most people do is they sit in judgment. They look at others, how others are behaving or a situation, and they sit in the contraction. They talk about it. They, in passive aggressive ways, laugh about it. All the while creating contraction and misery within themselves because it's nothing that they can change, nothing that they can control, nothing that really is their business unless they are doing what I just mentioned, governing their own lives or placing themselves in positions to affect the situation in a healthy way. Let me give you an example. If you think parents shouldn't be yelling at and berating your children, then you make sure you don't yell and berate your children. You also can do teachings or write a book or find a platform to help parents understand that yelling and berating is not okay. If you see a child being abused or berated and you could say something in the situation, you might ask for wisdom from spirit to know if there's something to say, if there's anything to say. You may start a nonprofit organization to help. These are ways that you use your own thoughts to govern your life and to help others. Now, if you're trying to apply your thoughts to other people, you sit in judgment and you watch the parent berating and yelling at the child, and you absorb the pain, and it makes you remember when you were yelled at and berated. You walk away drained, you walk away triggered, or you judge the parent. She should be ashamed of herself. She needs to do this, she needs to do that. And none of that is serving your highest good. Right. So the first thing that most people do is project their thoughts about a situation onto others. And in the meantime, they're really not really applying that to their own lives because if they were, they wouldn't be telling the story the way that they are. Right. So think about how you move in situations like this. It's a point of self reflection. It's not time to look at others and how they do this. My book is called Self Intimacy, A Beginner's Guide to Self Discovery. Look at the ways you do this, the ways you look out at the world and other people's state of being and what they are doing and create contraction within yourself, or you absorb their pain, or you walk away knocked off your center. You blame them, you call them lazy or whatever, you guilt and shame others. This is poor conflict resolution within yourself because at the most basic level, you are not resolving your self conflict. So, what do? You share your thoughts with others. Others who agree, others who disagree, you create more contraction. The problem is never resolved. So, pay attention to your thoughts today. Right. So, a thing happens and you think a certain way about it because you think something should be happening. Where it relates to you, a lot of times you begin to want something. And here's the deeper part of conflict resolution when it has to do with emotional wellness. You begin to want something when you are experiencing a negative emotion or some conflict with another person. You are unconscious most of the time of what you really want. Sometimes I ask people, what did you want to happen? And they'll say, I didn't want anything to happen. Well, if you didn't want anything to happen, you wouldn't be feeling any kind of way, right? Or I'll ask them what they wanted to happen, and they'll give me something on the surface. And they certainly can't hear what another person wanted because they already can't hear it within themselves. So let me help you. Most conflict, most problems have a common thing that people want or common themes. In my book, I give you a list. I'm going to give you two of the things that most people want, but in my book, I have a longer list. Most people want understanding, but most people do not understand themselves. They are busy sweeping things under the rug. In the love and light community, they are engaging in positive thinking. They're trying to forget things. They're trying to manifest their better self and leave the old self behind. They're trying to do all kind of things. But what they really want is understanding. Most people are fussing because they want understanding, but here's the thing, a lot of people are not listening to themselves even, and they're not present in the conversation enough to understand. Let me give you an example, and this is one I've used for many years because I think it's so obvious here. There's a husband and a wife who are considering whether or not to homeschool their children. By the way, I got this out of a book because sometimes when I give stories, people think, oh, she's talking about herself. I'm not. I got this out of a book many years ago. Okay. There's a husband and a wife who are considering whether or not to homeschool their children or send them to a public school. So the mother says to the father, I don't think that they should go to a public school. I think they should be homeschooled. I think we should go through the process of learning about how to homeschool, blah, blah, blah. And so she says, but I also see how it may be beneficial for them to go to a public school as well. The husband says, well, homeschool. And she goes, well, what I was thinking about homeschooling, and she shares. And he goes, okay, well, let's enroll them in the public school. And she gets frustrated. And he goes, I don't know what you want me to say. If I say homeschool, you go against that. If I say public school, you go against that. I don't know what you want me to say. Let's pause right there. So the first part is the person who is listening, the husband, is pretty unconscious of what is going on. He's trying to stay on the level of the problem because he probably doesn't understand there's any level to it. He hears what she's saying and he comes out with a simple solution. Most people do this. You tell them that you had a bad day and they say, oh, tomorrow will be better. You tell a person you feel sad and they go, oh, don't feel sad. Maybe you have done this. Right. So he's unconscious of what is really going on, and so is the wife. If I were listening with my ear, what I would hear is she really wants someone to talk this through with her. She wants understanding. She wants to be heard. She wants help, but she's not asking for it because she's unconscious of what she really wants. So if he says, I don't know what you want me to tell you, she would say, I don't want you to tell me anything. I was just trying to talk. You see where this is going. She's unconscious that she wants anything because if she was, instead of placing the priority on public school and homeschool, she could say, hey, right now, I just really want a moment to dialogue and for you to understand what my concerns are and to help me put my thoughts into place. She's unaware of what she wants within herself. And he's unaware of what she wants. He's even unaware of what he wants. This is typical. Look back in your life and see where arguments have taken this shape in your life, where you have been on both sides of the coin. Wouldn't you want to understand the deeper levels of communication and conflict resolution? Well, it begins inside. Most likely, the husband treats himself like this. When he is conflicted about what he should choose, he suppresses. Maybe he goes passive and doesn't choose anything. Maybe he waits for maybe an answer in prayer. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying there are levels to it. Maybe he doesn't entertain conflict within himself. Maybe he just rapidly makes a gut level choice. Either way, he is unaware of how to move through this with his wife. A key question in any situation is, what do I want? And you got to be honest about what you want, because when you're not honest, you can't resolve the conflict. For example, a lot of times people want to be right, but when you ask them what they want, they'll say, I don't want anything. And if you said, do you want to be right? They will say, no, it's not that I want to be right. When that's what they really want. They want to be right. But their shadow content does not allow them to see and admit it. So they'll say something like, I just want what is best for everyone involved. And I'm sure they probably do want what is best. But at the most basic primal level, they want to be right. This is shadow work. I hear a lot of people talking throughout the day, and they what I call nobilize their desires. They actually want something that they feel is unacceptable or that someone may judge them for. This is shadow work. And instead of saying the thing that they really want, they deny the shadow and they nobilize it. Oh, I just want them to look good. I just didn't want them to feel bad. It sounds very noble, but on the inside it's very different. And sometimes they're aware and sometimes not so much. I'm encouraging you to look at the deeper layers of who you want, because what you want, because how can you manifest anything if you're not even plugged in? If there's no self intimacy, how can you resolve conflict with another person with understanding? You can't. You can only understand people at the level that you understand yourself. And if a person is saying you don't understand, your response is not, if you want intimacy, it's not, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I understand more than you think. That's not a way to create intimacy. If a person is saying you don't understand, if you want intimacy, your question is, what part don't you think I understand? Well, help me out. What do you think I'm missing? A person who lives in self intimacy sounds different. They approach the world different. They have different experiences. They have less turmoil, less contraction, less dilemma inside, more peace, more contentment, more ease with the outside world. My name is Coach Veronica Marie, and you can find me on my website at veronicamarie.com and on different social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook by the same name. If you want to purchase my book, you can find it on my website. If you find these teachings helpful, please do share them with a friend. Remember to like this video and also consider subscribing.